Let's lick some hemorrhoids.
Yes, let's do that. All right, we're back with not in ShawScope.
No, I was supposed to do that in Nick's voice. It looks like he was saying it.
Oh, okay, right.
We'll do it again. All right, here we go.
Okay.
Aye, be Jesus! Let's lick some hemorrhoids then. Don't you know?
All right. So,
Nick, how could you say such a thing?
sorry.
Aaron looked horrified.
It's the effect of watching too many versions of Lotus Pan. It's become an absolute
brilliant. That's the best intro we've ever done.
There we go. We win.
I'm quite glad that I had nothing to do with it.
Yes.
I was just a face on the screen observing the. I was like the witness of the
Darren, I've got nothing to do with it. It was all Nick.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
untrammeled genius.
Yeah.
So this is not in ShawScope, the show where we spin off from the in ShawScope show that we do. And so we're spinning off from an episode we did about two different versions of the story of Lotus Pan. The 64 one, I think, right? And then 70s. Not a remake. We talked about this last time because actually they're quite different. And they're adaptations of an original story and then maybe a reworking of that story. Weirdly enough, these two films we're going to talk about this week dip into both of those quite freely. So it becomes more and more messy and murky as to which one they're referencing.
Particularly the first one we're going to kick off with, I think. We'll get to it. It's kind of interesting,
So we are going to talk about another film called, in English, the AMOROUS, Lotus Pan, right? Yeah, Pan Jin Lian in Chinese, 1994, directed by the same director, right, as the previous version.
So this is my mea culpa as well as to why we're kind of doing this. So I just went with, there's an AMOROUS Lotus Pan 64, there's an AMOROUS Lotus Pan 94. Let's do that. And then let's do, there's this reincarnation of Lotus. But I didn't realize that it was from the same director as the 1973 The Golden Lotus, our old friend, Li Hanshang. And also, I didn't realize, even though I had planned it for later on, I didn't realize that Golden Lotus Love and Desire is another Li Hanshang film that predates this one. So really, we should have done it in order, but we're not.
We haven't.
Yeah.
And is this another one of these kind of late Shaw films as well?
Well, no, not really.
That isn't really a Shaw film, right? But that has the logo on it.
It's some distribution thing, I guess. So it ends up with the granny glass intro nowadays when you see it on physical media. But it's by United Productions, who also made, among their other productions, are the same year's The Demon Wetness, which was written as a great title, which is the same writers as Titus Ho, who is the man who brought us Red Spells Red, which has recently got a Blu-ray upgrade, isn't it? Which is Red Spells Red is one of the fascinating post-black magic cycle of people picking up centipedes and maggots. It's one of those. We should do a whole bunch of them one day for Halloween. But
I'm into that. Yeah.
But anyway, that's Titus Ho. As we said, directed by Li Hanshang, who we've talked about a lot, and this turns out to have been his penultimate film, I think, as director. I think.
I think he probably got testicle poisoning from having to. There's a surprising amount of balls in this film, and taint. I was not expecting that in a '94 Shaw adjacent production.
He died in 1996. Anyway, and apologies to Li Hanshang's family for Nick's horrible assumptions.
Sorry.
But as we can see from the get-go, he's got a filthy mouth on him, isn't he?
Well, I understand if you stare into the taint too long, the taint stares back into your friend.
Yes, exactly. Beware monsters in the taint.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not just one type of one-eyed monster.
No.
a few
And of course,
one-eyed monsters.
we know from our other show that Nick is so fascinated. He's read several book adaptations of The Taint, the ancient legend.
I have indeed. Yeah. Yes.
So obsessed is he.
So anyway, this is another adaptation of that story of that filthy slut.
Right.
She's not. This is another one where she's definitely not treated terribly sympathetically by the narrative.
Well, yes, they try and have their cake and eat it a little bit, don't they? At the end, I would say.
Well, it really does even from the end of the 64 version where she kind of suddenly throws all of the stuff back in his face again. You know.
Yeah, but even at the start though, because it's because one of the things that's you've really got to keep your eye on in this film is what's a flashback and
yes, structurally it's so confusing as fuck.
Yeah, exactly. So at the start, yeah, no, but at the start you've got like a master mistress adultery situation with lots of sex and tits and fannies and all the rest of it. And then there's this kind of innocuous maid spying on things. And then only later on do you find, oh, actually, the maid was the young Lotus.
Lotus
Pan. Yeah.
I thought that was fairly well signposted, but because she does the kind of, reverie thinking to herself thing, and then we go into the.
But there's still this. I still found there was points where it was hard for me to tell when they were
It
was once they switched from using, because there was two different actresses, right? There is the one who plays as a 14-year-old, and then the one who plays.
And who is she? I couldn't figure out who she is, but she's cute.
We'll get to her, yes.
Yeah, but we don't know who she is.
Worryingly so.
Yeah, but we don't know. As far as
I wasn't in the slightest bit sexually attracted to the 14-year-old girl.
I'd like to see some ID, please.
Liar.
I don't have to worry about my eternal
on the fire, Mr. Darren, because she's not a 14-year-old girl by any stretch of the imagination. But
just in case,
I couldn't find an actress credit for her. I'm not.
No.
Okay, interesting.
Well, HKMDB is very light on cast and crew for this film, isn't it? Yeah.
But I looked about and I tried, searching in Chinese as well, but I couldn't pinpoint who. I mean, she might be listed there, but so many people, it's just one credit, and so you don't know from their other credits if you can tell if they're male or female by the name. And I searched, I couldn't find any screenshots or anything that identified. I was kind of surprised because I would imagine I'm not the first person to kind of try and find out who she is, but yeah. So
that's probably why we can't, because they knew that someday you would be trying to, so they took the necessary steps.
Yeah, she's in some sort of protection program.
FBI warning that flashed up.
Yeah.
So this one opens with Wu Song being released from some sort of like
yes,
prison,
this was interesting,
right? And kind of like gives a high five to the prison guard. It's all very, very good natured, time to head out. And
well, except though, we don't work out why he's in prison.
Yeah, not clear.
Yeah. So he's not in prison for killing Lotus Pan.
No,
because there's that after he's out of prison.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like there's been a government change or something like that. That's part of it, right? And it's an amnesty. Yeah. Maybe he was on the wrong side of some sort of government business, right? And he's been reinstated to some kind of post that he had before, like
again. I think familiarity with either the Water Margin or Golden Lotus or both. I think this was a film, especially Li Han Chang having his third go at it. I think it's made for people in the know as opposed to an introductory.
Well, it's also made for horny people.
Yes.
Horny people who are literate enough to know that it's magic.
Yeah.
Or at least watched a whole bunch of Shaw Brothers films.
Do like that Madame Wang or whatever her name is. So and there's no point in recapitulating the whole. We're just gonna say people watch the Shaw.
Yeah, episode, I suppose it's worth mentioning what's
different. To get the sense of the story.
What's different about it, right?
So Madame Wang kind of like is freaking out a bit. She's heard that Wu Song is out of jail, and she's like, he's gonna come here and he's gonna kill you, and I'm gonna get it in the crossfire. And she screams, "No time for tea. We're going to die soon." And I thought, that's not a sentence I will ever say. There will always be time for tea, especially if I'm going to.
Well, yeah.
If I'm waiting,
you belong to the Devil Girl from Mars way of looking at it, right? If you remember in Devil Girl from Mars, after threat intergalactic invasion, someone says, "Oh well, let's all have a nice cup of tea."
Yes, I'm Irish. I guess it makes sense. That's just the immediate go-to. You will.
But I'm glad you brought her up because even though, yes, at some point she does pimp out our Lotus Pan, as played by Wong Mei Ching, who will turn up again. We'll talk about another film called Ghost Story of Tan Ping Mei, which is another way of transliterating Jinping Mei, apparently. So we'll watch that. I suspect it might be light on the Golden Lotus, maybe, but fuck it, we'll watch it anyway. And she also did another one called Deep Throat of Tan Ping Mei, which I assume is related. Unfortunately, I can't have a copy of that because that is the one I want to watch, really, isn't it?
Yeah, that would be, yeah.
Where, I don't know, do they discover that Golden Lotus has a clitoris at the back of her throat?
I assume.
Yeah.
But don't...
or maybe on the tip of her toe, if it's Darren.
Yes.
Darren, it's all right. There's no need to get your goat or row a boat deep throat, as we know from the awesome theme tune.
Well, I will end that by saying that's all she wrote.
I love the theme tune to Deep Throat. It might be the best thing about the film.
Well, I don't know. Harry Reams as a doctor
with his willy in that little tourniquet or whatever it is that it's in for a while.
Yeah. No, there's a lot to write home about.
In a while, actually. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen Deep Throat in HD. I don't think.
No. I saw mine was a VHS that was probably on long play. Yeah.
So Seaman King is already dead in this one.
There's no Seaman King.
Also weird.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm wondering. Is he maybe in jail for killing him already?
No, because
he's died of the same thing. He died of.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Because he gets the aphrodisiac overdose, doesn't he?
Yeah. Again.
Sorry, you interrupted my thought there. What I was going to say about the Man and One character. What's interesting in this is even though she does end up pimping her out, she isn't actually that involved in the seduction part. You don't see that whole thing about trying to
lock her in a room with him and all that stuff. Yeah.
And also, so Seaman King and Wu Song, both played by Tan Lap Man, who seems to have made a bit of a career of playing the Seaman King, right?
Yes.
Formerly of pop star, right? Of the bands China and Blue Jeans, China with a Y. China and Blue Jeans, Tan Lap Man.
Seal of quality.
Yes. And he seems to have played well.
According to that thing you
talk about him a lot. Yeah. But also TV things that we're not going to talk about because they're too long to get into as well. But so he seems to have really loved playing the Z-Man character, right? And in this version plays both him and Wu Song. And actually does a pretty good job of distinguishing. I'm not sure if I would have pegged they were the same.
No, I wouldn't have known that. In fact, I didn't know that till you're telling me that right now. I had not clocked that they were the same actor at all. I guess the beard really works.
Yes, because Tan Lap Man has that distinctive kind of teeth slightly to the gums on display look, which makes it good for these kind of roles, right? And he's not doing that as Wu Song. So just closing his mouth a little bit and having a beard makes him look totally different.
Yes, good job. Yeah.
She ends up marrying a midget hunchback, right? And
except it's not a real midget, is it?
No, never is in these.
It's a man with his shoes on his knees walking around.
You shock me, Darren.
Yeah.
You've pulled. This is like watching one of those, how they made Inception or something. Like this is pulling back the curtain.
Yeah, but also it's
it's
not very inclusive, is it?
No. But should we get back to
an able-bodied actor, played a non-abled actor.
Yes.
Or a non-abled character in this film.
1994, it was the times were different, I think.
Well, didn't stop Little Man, did it?
No. But yeah, just getting back to this flashback. So when we go back to her which is established that she's 14, and she certainly seems very knowing already, right? There's this whole scene with she's the wife of the head priest or whatever of this temple, or is it a temple, or is it just a winemaking place?
I think it's just he's just her master. She's the maid, right? I think. Yeah.
This is Tim Young, right, who ends up raping her. His last film, going out on a ban. He's finally yes, and then he died happily.
Yeah.
Yeah, he plays one of our tiny foot fetishists, because definitely tiny feet. They don't shy away from that aspect of her.
Yeah, they're back. Lee Han-xiang.
Oh yeah, of course, Tim again. What am I saying?
Yeah, unique as far as we've seen anyway, in insisting that all the sexy ladies have the tiny little feet. Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's that whole that actor. She's not a young lady, and she gets topless fuck scenes while she cries out, the Lord's name or whatever, right? She's actually praying.
Yeah, I quite like that. I enjoyed that. Yeah,
like hitting her bell,
hitting the fish thing. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yes, and then they mention.
But that's the backstory, isn't it? And that she gets banished and ends up with.
Because basically, the old fella.
Yeah, but there's a few convolutions to that as well, isn't there? So
she's a younger guy.
She ends up fucking the person her mistress is fucking.
Yes.
And then her master fucks her.
And
then her mistress finds out that her master's fucked her, and then decides to marry her to midget Wu Da.
Yes.
So that's how she gets with Wu Da, isn't it?
Yeah. And then she ends up with Zeman, and then that whole part is interesting because it goes very in the realm of the senses for a while there, doesn't it? Where they're just, and she ends up fucking him to death, as in the 73 Golden Lotus version, which is, I suspect when I get there, it actually does happen in the Golden Lotus book, right? I think that is a thing that's from the source. But then,
there's just too much of it, isn't there? There's just too much.
Well, what's interesting in this version is after Zeman, there's like a bit of a gap, right? So obviously they don't do the going back to Zeman's house and the erotic adventures with other.
Or they've just. I mean, I feel like they just elided it, or they've because we do see the scene of the tied up. It's a grape toss this time, but we do see a direct visual quote. So I think they're just assuming that all happened, and you've already seen that movie. We don't need to re-show all that.
No. It's telescoped, right? But what's interesting is rather than, because they could have done, but rather than that, they decided instead they threw in a few extra amorous adventures of hers between the death of Zeman and Wu Song turning up. Right? So there's quite a good bit where I like the glory hole bit. That was quite good.
Yes, that was a surprise, and it made me think
sexy.
I assume that must be in Japanese films too, like the paper. I've seen lots of stuff like people licking and then spying, but I've never seen anybody stick their dick through a paper before. But it must be.
What a sheltered life you have led.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be in Japanese porn as well, right? Of that era. Anyway.
And then another character turns up and she fucks him as well. Yeah, so there's a whole bunch of, it's weird. It's interesting how they've done that. And then of course Wu Song turns up and then it plays. What's interesting to me about this film, I suppose, is because I thought it was all right, actually. Like, not great, but not bad. I wasn't bored. I quite enjoyed it. Some bits were quite sexy and all that. If anyone other than Li Hanshang had directed it, I would have just said, there we go, a 90s cash grab, category 3. Maybe not quite as sleazy as they could get, but with enough of it for it to be satisfying, but a slight veneer of plus. But the fact is Lee Han Shan, and you're thinking, you've had like 3 runs at this now, right? And I'm thinking, and once upon a time at Shaw as well, right? And I'm thinking, what leads you back to this? Like, if he'd have attempted to make like the Golden Lotus or Amorous Lotus Pan of all time, right? And they'd given him a massive budget and it had sweeping fucking vistas and amazing production values. I could understand that because it's like, all right, this time I'm doing it, right? But for a 3rd run at it, it's kind of pedestrian, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
it doesn't strike me. I wouldn't have guessed this was Lee Han Shan of all those other authors we've seen who made.
No, there's nothing that marks it out, is there?
No, it's well made.
Well, apart from the little feet.
Yeah, but it's not exceptional. It's not exceptional.
No. I mean, it's pretty. I mean, this is the era of sex and zen, and this is another, sexy vignette film, right? In the category 3 mode.
Right.
It's well made. There's a reasonable amount of misogyny in the final scene, but I like what he did there still. With the whole, throwing the naked woman out the house and then going naked out and crying in the rain and then stabbing the woman at the end and all that stuff. But yeah, it's, I mean, the budget is obviously reasonably lacking, firstly, but also, it doesn't really distinguish itself, does it, from
that's the thing.
Let's say Sex and Zen. Let's say, because Sex and Zen is a good shorthand, isn't it?
Right.
This sort of Cat 3 pushing boundaries, showing muff and thin tits,
based on historical literature.
Yeah. So it doesn't distinguish itself.
No, that's the thing that interests me about it is if it was non-Lee Han Chang, you just think, oh, that's fine. But it's interesting to me why, as a viewer, I'm satisfied enough. I'm okay. I don't have a problem.
All right. Yeah.
But I'm wondering what led him to it. Was he satisfied? Was he pleased with it? That interests me that he came at it again and just did it like
some sort of itch that he couldn't quite reach, and so he keeps trying. This time
there's something. Clearly about something about it fascinates him, right?
Well, but he wasn't the first to do it. I mean, it could be as simple as some sort of grudge that he's got with Shaw Brothers, or some sort of itch he didn't get to scratch in 1964. Because 64.
Yeah, because he didn't get to make the first.
Exactly. So he didn't make the first one, whereas he was already a top director
on the roster. Right.
So that's conjecture, but that could be a thing.
The thing is, because we're coming around this the wrong way around as well. Is we'll get to it, but we haven't watched Golden Lotus Desire yet, and I'm wondering if that might have a clue or not. So once we see Golden Lotus of Desire, we'll have seen all 3 of them he's done, and it's possible that seeing that might put something into perspective. I don't know, but stay tuned or whatever it is you do to the internet, and we will get to that next time. Right, that'll be part of our next batch of not. Anything else to be said about?
Well, there's a couple of things. A couple of things. There's an astonishing sausage making scene. That is intercut with and it's bloody, proper fucking black puddingy looking sausage, while what's his face is dying of burst blood vessels in his cock. Intercutting back. And there's that
a little on the nose, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. And there's a lot of dialogue there that's even more Finbar Saunders, that whole section of the 2 women talking about how to get a blood sausage to pump up properly.
Right. Yeah, that was good. I liked that bit. Yeah. But also there's a lot of leaving aside misogyny,
I thought you were having
misandry,
a
right?
minute there.
No. But just leaving aside misogyny or misandry, or forget about the context in terms of what you're trying to say. But something that is prevalent in this rather than or more than other films on the same theme that we've seen is Lotus Pan seems to be the one doing most of the raping in this film.
Yeah,
right?
she does a lot of drugging people. I mean, when
there's a lot of
Wusong's really got some stuff to unpack, some grief to cope with after he's basically drugged and raped.
Yeah, because he wakes up and comes, and that's the first he knows about it.
Yeah. Again, it's the cake and eat it thing, isn't it? Because she does get to mouth some stuff at the end, and she's made sympathetic, but only after 90 minutes of being seen to be a shameless, wanton slut, right? But are you wondering why they don't just straight up do that? That they always feel the need to kind of shoehorn that in, right? I suppose from the beginning you could argue that her sexual awakening, she is raped, right? So that kind of bends the tree somewhat. So they do. I suppose it is seeded in there a little bit, but it does seem a little front loaded with slut victim, like
because I mean,
of course they never go the other route. I mean, of course that's only two routes, right? They never ever go the woman just totally in charge of her own sexual nature and neither slut nor victim, right?
Right.
I'm wondering if anyone's ever gone that way with it. Maybe a Golden Lotus for now would probably be more likely to go that way.
That would be interesting. Yeah.
And did anyone notice that there was one scene guest directed by Tinto Brass? I was surprised to see her reach back and spread her ass apart. I was like, okay. Thank you for that.
God bless you, Tinto.
She's a good-looking woman. I will, let's just front and center.
No question. Not hard to look at.
Did anyone know who the actress playing her younger is as well?
Tell Nick.
Let us know.
So I can make sure that information never reaches Clive.
I don't understand what your problem is, lads. She's
that was a good.
That is very attractive. Anyway,
I'm gonna want to see a driving license before I fancy her. Yeah.
Are you gonna fuck her in the car?
Ideally.
Fake Taxi Hub, the Darren edition.
What's Fake Taxi?
Who knows?
Not another one of these memes.
That's another one of those memes. Yes.
I tell you that internet is going to be big, though. Mark my words. Right, the reincarnation of Golden Lotus, then, from 1989, as directed by Clara Law and written by Lillian Lee, who wrote Green Snake.
Okay.
And
makes sense to me. This feels very Choi Hark-y to me.
Especially that opening sequence.
Yes.
Yeah, so the setup for this one, which is kind of an interesting... I mean, I'll get it out the way early on. I don't think the film actually succeeds, unfortunately. But it's conceptually interesting that we see the Pan Jin-lian character as played by Joey Wong of Chinese Ghost Story fame, in the afterlife, basically, right? And she's offered, drink this kind of elixir or something, and all your bitterness will go away. Or, what she chooses to do is to refuse, and she refuses to forget because she wants vengeance, basically, right? So she will become reincarnated, and she will have a chance to get back at those who wronged her.
Yes, yeah. when she first appears, she has her own head under her arm, right? I think, and
Yeah.
it's giving a lot of withering glances to people. She's quite angry. But yes, yeah, and then she makes the decision. She's gonna be reincarnated in order to get revenge, even though she's told, you know what, you might want to forgive and forget. She's like, fuck no. She's a lot of diaphanous flapping, and then she's
it's Joey Wong from 1989,
right.
Of course, she's diaphanous.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. So fast forward to the Cultural Revolution.
Revolution, right? Yes, which is unexpected, but I quite liked that. I was like, what the fuck?
And that is laid on so fucking thick as well, isn't it?
Yeah. But I agree with you. That was the bit I was like, oh, hang on, this might be interesting, right? So yeah, I'm assuming it's 1966 or thereabouts, and there's all these kind of, we see these red guard teenagers going about, beating people up and burning things down, and Joey Wong now with white hair, which is something they don't. I thought it was going to be a thing, but she only has white hair for this section, doesn't she?
But that's a dance rehearsal, isn't it?
I think she's just in a wig.
That's just like a rehearsal for
the
dance that she's going to be in, because she's doing ballet.
Right.
Yes, yeah.
Ballerina, because she's got the little feet for it, doesn't she?
Yes. She is. Whoever the actress who plays her as a little girl is very pinchably cute. Like, she's quite a sweetie. Before she grows up to be Joey Wong. And then and she's, right away we see her as a dreamer and a slightly odd character, right?
And she's set up to be the people's ballerina, I suppose. But Ku Feng, who's her school teacher, and he's
never a good thing.
A commander or something. Yeah, he's all over her.
Yeah.
So we do see she at this point she does grow up from being whatever 9 she's in the first scene to now she's like, 18 or whatever, right? Before Ku Feng slithers his way.
Right. And she rejects his advances, so he immediately accuses her of being a counter-revolutionary.
Well, naturally, that's what you do.
And then there's a whole thing. So our Wu Song surrogate in this film is played by Wilson Lamb, who's someone I wasn't familiar with, but yeah. She's like, oh, he's a bit of a hunk, and she gets some.
This is after she's been kicked out of school for being raped, which is always that's nice.
Was it some trainers she got from him or something like that?
She did, yes. And then she sees him, and she's like, oh, he's very cute, and it turns out he's a basketball playing cultural revolutionary, which is a Venn diagram I didn't know existed. But yeah, she buys him some shoes, and then she gets
accused of theft, and then and
really slut shamed hard by a bunch of young assholes.
Yes, it was red assholes, aka real assholes, right? The red guard. I think that's a pretty good aka for them. And accused of theft and bullied, and also he's forced to turn on her as well, right? Yeah.
Forced, or is he just a fucking pussy?
Well, I mean, fair point. Although I, put you in the time machine, send you back to 1966.
No. If I was genuinely in love with the girl, fuck it, I'll follow my sword.
Yeah. Well, the other thing about that section is that it's far too fucking short to give anyone any decent plot details.
Right.
So it's like and I just watched this today, so it's really fresh in my memory. So in that section, you never actually work out whether she stole the shoes or not.
Yeah.
That's not actually clear in the plot.
No, because you don't see her buying them or anything.
No. She gets told she's stolen them, and then she says, "No, I bought them," and you never find out what the story is.
Right.
And then, he's made to kind of slap her about a bit, slightly under duress, and then he gives her a little bun as she's on the back of some wagon.
Here you go.
And she chucks it back at him. And then that's the end of that section. And then you don't find out how she died. You don't find out what she did after. You don't find out anything.
Well, I'm glad you brought this up, Darren.
Yeah.
Because it points out another huge problem that I had with this film as well. Like you said, she isn't set off somewhere or executed or anything like that. You see her in the back of this truck as raining. So then when we jump forward again to what is, I assume, now contemporary late 80s, I assume it's still supposed to be mainland China, although it does look pretty much like it's shot in Hong Kong. So the weird thing about this is we're not told whether this is a further reincarnation or if it's just her grown up, because the timeline doesn't quite.
No, it doesn't make sense. I mean, if it's the late 70s maybe, and if it's the late 60s, then it kind of works.
I don't think it is though, because it would be full of anachronisms, which could also be the point. But I don't think it is. I think it's supposed to be the 80s, judging by the on.
Well, yeah, the big phones and all.
And the thing is, if she's supposed to be like 16 or something in the Cultural Revolutions section, that means she'd be born like 1950, early 50s. So that means she's supposed to be like in her mid to late 30s in the 80s section, which
she looks great. She looks great for her age.
Could be. You could just about get away with it. But then, so I'm not sure if she's supposed to be the same character.
I assume
if it's a further reincarnation.
No, I assume she's a reincarnation.
I assume so as well.
I assume she dies really shortly after that. She gets on the back of the truck.
Yeah, so that's the other thing. That's what I would.
Okay, so he keeps failing her then.
For that to work, she must have been killed immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and now she's like 20 or something.
But also, so does Wu Song.
Yes.
So Wu Song
has to die. Yeah.
Yeah. So they both have to die so they can both be reincarnated because they don't know each other.
Right. And to your point, Darren, that's you're wondering why it would have been so easy to have just had one scene, right? Just one scene of them getting a bullet in the back of the head or something.
Yeah, 10 minutes. That'd be fine.
And then back again to Joey Wong diaphragmatically flapping around and be like, "Oh, give me another one of those fucking drinks."
Yeah.
And
don't give me the drink, right?
Or don't. Yeah, don't give me the drink.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back again. Yeah, it's a bit weird.
I think it only really works in my head anyway if they're both dead from the 60s.
Yeah, I agree with you because they're
and then this is the new version. Yeah,
I said too much of a stretch that she would be in her late 30s, and him as well actually, because he
would look exactly the same too.
Yeah. Plus as well, when we do go through the 80s again, like we don't have the end to the Cultural Revolution section. She's out of nowhere, and she suddenly bumps into Eric Sang as the Wu Ta stand-in, and I have no idea what she's supposed to be. Is she a student? Is she
country bumpkin? I thought
she's like a watermelon seller or something, wasn't she?
Yeah, I think she's just like a farm girl, and he's like on a trip to the countryside for some whatever sightseeing, and then he's like, because there's Americans that get off that bus too, which was funny.
Right,
and
but it is very. I mean, I'm not that fussy about something being over-explained to me, but sometimes I do like a bit of clarity.
Hand holding.
Yeah.
Yeah, every now and again. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we have to assume that that's the case for narrative.
Yes, it's a third reincarnation, right?
Thank you. Yeah. That actually makes more sense to me than what I was trying to do in my head. Because I was like, it seemed to did they not talk about what happened before? Back in the
one thing as well, how many there have been in the interim, right? Because if they're following the actual, so you're going back at least 600-700 years old.
Yeah.
And then it's Cultural Revolution and then the 80s. And you're thinking, oh, how many incarnations were there in the interim?
Well, I suppose you could say, well, she's been in the underworld, like moping about for.
It did look very hell-like, that scape. Yeah.
Time passes slow or quick, I guess.
Yeah. It was good. It was a good scene. The opening scene is a good scene.
Oh yeah,
I like that. Yeah.
It's probably the best scene of the film, actually.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And that, so
it's Wu Da again, right? So he's not quite a little person in this. Not that he ever is in any of these versions, actually. But but he's definitely a bit chunkier than the last time I saw him, which I've been told is in Carry On Wise Guy.
Well, he was. Yeah. Why you might slightly suspect.
Well, because I never would have put these two actors. I never would have put these two actors together in my head, even though apparently they share the same name and birthday. But yeah, like he definitely has.
Apparently, you're not quite convinced that we might be pulling one over on you.
No, that is definitely Eric Sang. But this is Lucky Stars Eric Sang.
He's bulked up a
This
bit
is-
since the last time I saw him. He wasn't that. Although they kept calling him Fatty and Fat Dragon and Fatso, he wasn't actually that chubby at all. It's a little chubbier here.
Yeah, but generally, this is the default Eric Sang most people know.
Okay.
So this version of Eric Sang is exactly what most people know him as.
He's got a lot of doing that slightly high-pitched voice.
I haven't been watching this stuff for long enough, but he's got a lot of, like, to me, Wong Jing energy.
No, that's harsh.
All right.
That's harsh.
Okay, that's not fair. It just okay.
Right. No, I like Eric Sang.
I defer to your judgment. You guys know better than I.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's punching above his weight, clearly, because he's got Joey Wong.
But he's a rich guy. He's a rich guy from Hong Kong, right? He's in the rural countryside of mainland China, it seems like.
Yeah, so I assume they go back to Hong Kong, so that covers that. That's why it looks like Hong Kong.
There's that great scene where she gets up onto the toilet and tries to squat on it, which is a real sign of country bumpkin girl in the
again, not laid on thick at all.
No. It's almost as good as those scenes in Crocodile Dundee with the bidet. Which
yes. So and kind of all the while as well, she keeps having these flashbacks, doesn't she? So she has these flashbacks to her original self, which is the Lotus we're all very familiar with from the other films we've watched. And then also flashbacks to the Cultural Revolution. And then she starts to get this kind of split personality thing going on, or semi-split personality, where all of a sudden she finds the new spunky boy who's called Simon in this film, but I can't remember what he's called in the other films.
Z-Men or G-Men.
Z-Men, that's it.
Yes.
Yeah, Z-Men Ching, that's it, isn't it?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, so she clocks eyes on him, and then all of a sudden does a complete 180.
Yeah. Well, before then, we should mention that after she marries Wuda, of course, it turns out that Wilson Lamb is his brother, right? And
yes.
Also, did you notice there's when they get married, because there's a whole thing with the wedding, with the lion dance and stuff. Did you notice there's a man running about in the wedding, and it's like Frank Sidebottom is there. There's like a man with a really large paper mache head.
No, but that's part of the lion dance, though, isn't it?
I didn't know Frank Sidebottom.
Yes. Let me tell you where you've seen that before, because that's the same head that Samo pulls off at the end of the tournament. Samo's wearing one of them at the end of the tournament.
There we go. So
there we are.
Okay, interesting. Right. So and then when she's out and about, she meets Simon, who's some sort of goth-looking fella in this version.
What kind of an 80s metrosexual, isn't he? He's kind of a
now is this the fellow who played this role like 9 times or whatever? It is. Okay. So then was he also then in the other version we just watched?
Yes.
Yes, he was. Yeah.
This one he's got alleged. Yes. So I've been led to believe, but he's got this. I can't even do it. This fucked up smile. That's not a smile. It's like, I don't know what the.
Yeah, it's very gut, which is why it's so surprising. That's why you didn't recognize him in the other film when he played Wu Song as well, right, with the fake beard, because he.
Yes. Because he's not doing that. He's not pulling that.
He's not doing that. It doesn't look like him.
Yeah.
But yeah, he turns up and so
he's got some great lines like "Slut, can we go?"
Yes,
or "Slut, it's your tata."
The number one slut in Chinese history is the other thing he calls her, right?
Yeah.
Classy dude.
He also does that thing. I think I might have mentioned this before, but this is something that continues to confuse me to this. I still don't understand the utility of it. So there's a bit where he gives her blowback in the club, which for people who don't know what blowback is, it's when you turn a spliff around so that the cherry is in your mouth, and then you blow the smoke out into the other person's mouth, right? And this is the thing, I remember this when I was a teenager, every now and again, someone would offer blowback.
Yeah.
There's actually a very funny scene in Peep Show, right? Where David Mitchell's character, what's his name?
Mark, is it
Mark,
Martin?
yes.
Mark.
Who doesn't know anything, of course. And a girl offers him blowback in a public toilet, and he's like, "What? Here?" But I remember every now and again you'd be sitting around getting stoned, and someone would go, "Oh, do you want blowback? Do you want blowback?" And to the life of me, to this day, I don't understand what's the what is the what does it do? What's the use of it? It doesn't get you any.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I'm with
you. Although it could possibly be, and I'm guessing here, it could possibly be a way to get two people high on the same joint at the same time, because you won't be blowing everything back. It'll still smoke, and you'll still get some inhalation.
Clearly, it just makes more sense as the hand a split back and forth.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yes, and it's not even because it's not even like because you could see it as one of those things. It's an excuse to be. It's like, oh, would you like a massage? It's one of those fucking things. But it wasn't, as far as I remember, it wasn't. Men hitting on.
No,
it wasn't. It wasn't homoerotic as far as I remember.
No, because there was blokes asking me to show some blowback, and I don't say which one to get in my pants. It was just for some reason. But you remember this as well, Don. It was just one of those things, right?
Yeah.
And I never ever figured out like what the fuck is this all about? Why?
Well, I think the other theory we could have on blowback that could work, and again, just coming off the top of my head, it could be that this appears in some film in the 70s.
Right.
That someone that was originally erotic. Then someone thought, oh, that's a good idea. That's a good way to share a joint.
Like you said, 9.5 weeks or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Or reincarnation of Golden Lotus.
Well,
yes.
Yeah. It could have been bastardized in that way.
Because the other thing similarly confused me was when people would suggest doing hot knives, which was you'd heat up some hash on a kitchen knife on the burner, and then you'd inhale the smoke from the hash like you would chasing the dragon through like a straw or something.
It was just harsh and dangerous.
Yeah, I think that was the thing. It just looked you hot knives.
Would have burned yourself, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Another thing, I don't see the point in doing hot knives or blowback.
People like ceremony, Clive. People like ceremony.
Yeah. So anyway, so she's kicking about. Eric Sang's being really, really nice to her. All the while she's getting these.
He's even pointing out where Jackie Chan and Sammo Hung used to.
Yes, I caught that reference. Yeah,
nice of him.
And that may well have been the place. You never know. Right. So yeah, but and all the while she's kind of getting these flashbacks. So you get a little bit more detail. Like halfway through the film, you start to see Wu Song in armor back in the olden times. And that sort of stuff.
We do see. We definitely see the little feet. We see the older, the previous version drinking out of the shoe.
The internal logic of this film makes no sense at all because they're haunted by visions of them, for incarnations of them before that pop up in modern day. But also every now and again, this is confusing. They have conversations with each other about their previous lives. And then other times they seem to be oblivious and don't understand. So that confused me. No end.
No, I think probably what they're trying to do is they're trying to create this kind of inside the schizophrenic, reincarnated, multiple personality mind sort of thing. So that kind of like, oh, I've been reincarnated. I'm getting flashes of memory. Sometimes I talk like a different person. Sometimes I see through a different person's eyes. And sometimes I can see the past, but it doesn't quite gel properly because I don't think it's given enough room to breathe. In the same way as the Cultural Revolution bit is just like, it's just practically a few minutes, and then you've done one whole lifetime of her existence. But it keeps getting referred back to.
There's a lot of concepts that aren't back. So obviously thought, someone thought, that'd be cool. Should we do one of the reincarnations in the Cultural Revolution? That'd be cool. That'd be a good idea. Let's do that. But there isn't enough of a solid framework for it. So because in the end, the whole thing is very, very, very shallow and fleshy, isn't it? It's not.
Yes.
Which is a shame, because I think they were aiming for something more.
That's what I mean. The concept is good, but somehow it wasn't. It was rushed into production or something, so it wasn't given time, like you said.
It feels
build it up properly. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like it should be half an hour longer.
Or was it just not possible in 1989 to do anything deep? With like whatever you tried, no matter how much you cared, it just came out glossy and Miami Vice, kind of like this thin.
Well, what is kind of interesting about it is by the end of they get into the last reel, so suddenly someone thought, hang on, we're in 1989. This is a Hong Kong film. We haven't had any action yet. So they hire Tony Leung Siu Hung and they have a car chase and some action.
Yes.
Right at the very end, just because we haven't had any yet.
Yeah. So I appreciated that.
Yeah, me too. It peps things up a bit, but it didn't make it any better.
See, the thing is, though, I still enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I had a whale of a time watching this.
Oh, interesting. So you obviously enjoyed it more than I did, at least. How about you, Nick? What was your enjoyment level?
I'm somewhere between. I think I was fine. I wasn't actively grinding my teeth, but
No, it wasn't terrible.
I wasn't in love with it either.
It's just because I thought the concept is such a good concept. It seems like they dropped the ball, so that was disappointing.
Well, they did. But I think the eye candy that you had on display, which is Eric Sang being rotund and cute, and Joey Wong.
If it is him, Darren,
it's him at all.
Keep an open mind about it.
Eric Sang, yeah, you must do prosthetics.
Yes,
and you've got Joey Wong, and then and you kind of, I suppose maybe it's to do with how we've immersed ourselves in this story now for the last few episodes, or what feels like a few episodes.
All coming.
But it's like you're in familiar territory, so it's quite comfortable to watch another Golden Lotus film. So that might be a factor.
That's pretty true, because it's more, before Golden Lotus meant nothing to us, and now it means something. So you're automatically more invested, even if something's rubbish, because even if it's the worst film in the world, you can't help but they're paying reference to that other bit of the story that I saw in that.
And actually, that's probably to its detriment to a Western audience as well, because I think if this would have been the first Golden Lotus,
oh man, I wouldn't know what the hell was going on.
Wouldn't have a clue.
What the hell's happening here? Yeah,
you need to know the story to understand what's going on.
Yeah, no, agreed. This is not one to go into cold.
I need to know why she was tied up and he was throwing grapes at her vulva.
Yeah.
I need context for that.
That was nowhere near explicit enough with Joey Wong.
No, but it was interesting to see that they remounted that scene from that version. I haven't seen that in any other version we've watched so far. That's just that. Well, also, we have one more by that director to watch. So
Wu Song is ultra harsh in this one as well, because she doesn't even poison her husband, right?
No.
Yeah. No. In fact, he ODs or whatever. He ODs on dick pills again, but then it turns out he's not.
Well, it's Eric Sang. It's Eric Sang ODing on the dick.
Yeah, you're right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's Wu Da.
But he is Wu Da. Yeah. But it's but in this case, he does it himself to himself.
Yes, exactly. But he still kills her. And the thing is as well,
he doesn't though in this one, right?
Oh,
this is the one
he almost.
Yeah, but he's the one who ends up getting dragged to his death.
Right.
Yeah.
But what's interesting as well is, like, the other thing, the tonal shifts, and of course it's Hong Kong cinema, but the thing is, on the one hand, they're trying to do this kind of somewhat rigorous interrogation of, what does Golden Lotus, what does it mean, and and trying to kind of, like you said as well, if this was a genuine thing, what would it feel like? But then, for instance, Eric Sang's premature ejaculation scene is so cartoonish, right? So it's infuriating in that way. I think it's like, and it's not just shorthand. It's not just cinema. It's like it didn't have to be that silly, right?
Well, and further on, talking about Eric Sang as well, and the use of comedy in a film that's mostly trying to be serious,
Pretty serious,
is is you've got the last few scenes with Eric Sang where he does OD on the medieval Viagra, and the audience thinks he's died, his family thinks he's died, and then while Wu Song and Lotus are having, epiphanies and mental breakdowns because of their reincarnations and what Wu Song thinks she's done to Eric Sang. All of a sudden he sits bolt upright with a hard on and goes, "Where's my wife? I want to fuck her."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
Which
almost like
completely breaks the flow of the film.
It's almost like a Marty Feldman's, like, they could have easily have had the trying to close the coffin lid, but they can't, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's interesting too because what they've done is previous to this, it was in fact Dean Sheck who couldn't last, right?
Yes. Yes.
And now we've got Wu Da, but this is actually played out again in the one we just talked about before, the 94 version or whatever, because in that one, again, Wu Da jumps on, pumps twice, and then and then she has a line that I meant to mention when we talked about that one, like, "You start a fire in me, but you can't put it out." She's just, and then we see
she
that
was
again.
writing lyrics for White Snake, I believe, at the time.
I believe she was.
Yes. Imagine someone singing that, can't you? You put the fire on. Put it out.
I think you'll find that's Green Snake, Clive. From that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I don't know. I mean, I liked the end. I liked the Thelma and Louise, like, what the fuck ending.
And I love how that car just explodes for no reason as well.
It's just as it crests the hill, like,
bangs.
Yes.
I like that.
No, it's a mess for sure. It is. So there's one interesting thing, completely by coincidence. So I was looking this up on the Hong Kong Movie Database and noticed that they have a tea lady credit.
Yes, Lisa, what's her name, isn't it?
So I was wondering about this, and because if you go with the IMDb or something like that, if it's a big film, obviously everyone who works on a film is credited, but it tends to be on the Hong Kong Movie Database, it's a little bit more sparse, right? They don't have everyone. So I thought it's kind of interesting that they would have a tea lady credit. And then I was talking to my missus the other day when we were out and about. Totally, I didn't mention this film, it was total coincidence. She happened to mention to me, "Did you know about the importance of tea ladies on Hong Kong movie sets?" And this was something I'd never heard of before, but she'd read about it somewhere or other online, I think. And apparently, I don't know if this is still the case now, but certainly in this era of Hong Kong filmmaking, apparently tea ladies were an integral part of the production, where it was kind of their unspoken job to, as the number one, they had to know how everyone wanted their tea or coffee prepared and remember it and things like that. And then, bloody hell, he's harsh, isn't he?
That's in the job title, Clive.
Wow, here we go. The former anarchist. Demanding and also having no empathy for people living during the Cultural Revolution as well.
No, they sucked.
Anyway, not only that, but the part of the job as well would be to listen to people's complaints and kind of hear all the gossip, and because there'd be too much egos on sets where it was their job to kind of go around and massage people's egos and have a word in people's ears and stuff like that. So apparently tea ladies were like the silent heroes of Hong Kong movie sets, where they would keep the calm and so that's kind of interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd never heard of that.
That makes
which would make sense why there's a tea lady credit because I
was
wondering.
Would. I mean, it's weird because this is the one version of the film that doesn't have a tea lady, right? Because Madame Wang is in all the other versions of this. That's exactly what she is too, right? She's a tea lady as a part-time pimp. Yeah, that's not why tea ladies are very important in Hong Kong cinema.
Could be that too. I don't know.
The pimping side of things. But anyway, good to know. Have you seen her in anything else? This tea lady? Have you noticed her name appear in any other credits?
Well, I thought you were talking about the fortune teller, but yeah, sorry, I went ooh.
Oh, that's Lisa Chow Chow, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah, and Chan Lap Ban plays the very, very, very old woman.
Yeah,
and I was just wondering. I only just realised Chan Lap Ban, Tam Lap Ban. Is she his mum? Maybe.
Oh, could be. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah. Well, no, because they haven't got. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
I don't know. Well, no, that's the thing because it's not the family name, right?
And also, but also, I am wondering if that is a granny with bound feet as well. If that lady does actually have bound feet, then that's a reason to put her in there. Because she does really shuffle about the place. She does walk as if she's got severe feet problems. Maybe I'm reading too much into that, but she'd be of the right age to have bound feet.
Right.
So, just a thought.
Clive, have you frozen on us there? You've seen
I thought, someone was...
I just realized it's funny. This is one of those episodes that just slowly deflates,
peters out.
And
well, I want to I want to pour some more life into it then.
Oh, go on then.
Because
and I have a question too for Clive. So, but you go ahead, Darren, first.
Okay, because
no, you can't.
I don't.
Okay, good.
Because I enjoyed this film far more than either of you two did.
Seems to be,
right? Yeah. I was even not even portraying my full sense of enjoyment in watching this film to you two because I was a bit embarrassed because you didn't like it.
You're among friends.
Well, exactly. So I think I've had a chance to warm up now and open up. Now this is probably falls into the category of guilty pleasure or will in future years, right? But I think if you enjoy watching lovely Joey Wong floating about the place in lots of different outfits, some of them modern, some of them ancient, that's a plus point.
Yeah. To be fair, though, you also have quite a lot of films to choose from Joey Wong floating about.
That's true. No, you are correct. You are correct. I find her particularly cute in this because I like the fact that she's when she's not possessed by a ghost from the past, she's actually quite cute and ditzy. So I kind of quite like that.
She was also worth mentioning. She was very big in Japan.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I can imagine that.
Huge.
Yeah.
Even sang some records, I think, and in the same way as Jennifer Connelly did when she was a teenager. She phonetically sang some Japanese songs.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I mean, Eric Sang's always good value for money. I think
he's definitely the sweetest. He's the sweetest and most sympathetic version of Wu Da we've had to date, including the one from the original '60s Shaw version.
Yeah. And I kind of like the fact that they tried and failed. I like the fact that they're doing something.
They swung for the fences, but
exactly, they're trying to do something different.
But and
I kind of just want the film to succeed because they're trying to do something interesting. Even though they don't succeed, I enjoyed watching it. I just enjoyed the effort that was put into.
I still don't have a handle on what their opinion of Pan Jin Lian is, though. Like,
no,
it's not overly sympathetic, but neither is it totally charming. Like, I don't think they know what to do, what their take on her is, right? That's
but I think this is the other thing, and I think this might put it into a little bit of context, possibly. But I think because I rewatched Rouge.
Oh yeah,
recently. I went to the cinema
to this day.
Oh, okay. Well, Rouge was massive.
Yes,
you know, in Hong Kong and to a lesser extent internationally. And it's kind of got
two kind of doomed actors.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Right? Like
yeah. And I think so. Rouge, I think, is 87. If I'm not
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we might be seeing a little bit of influence from Rouge in the making of this film as well.
That could very well be, actually. Yeah.
So, but arguably, this film is trying to be more interesting than Rouge, but has managed to be a lot less classy. And I'm not going to say less interesting because it is interesting. I maintain this film is interesting to look at because of what it's.
Without having seen it, my guess would be something along the lines of, "Oh, that Rouge was good, wasn't it? Popular.
Oh yeah,
it's a bit too arty. Let's have an exploding car."
Yeah,
and some premature ejaculation jokes and
yeah. But also notable that it's written and directed by women.
Yes, that's true.
And I was kind of expecting it to be to go a little bit easier on Lotus.
Yeah,
because of that. There's still a little bit of sort of male culture in there. Then.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Put it that way. You know, there's still a little bit of. You know, it's not quite gone all out. You know.
Well, that's what I mean, because
sympathize with Lotus. Yeah.
This is what we're kind of. This is doing a bunch of whole Golden Lotuses in a shot is what is kind of interesting, and I'm wondering if I'm hoping we'll get more closer to it as well. But you do wonder what is her place in, like they say here, is she just the number one slut in Chinese history, or like what does she mean? What does Golden Lotus mean? Is she a victim? Is she a predator? Is she like a conflicted mix of the two, or what does she represent?
Well, the only
here was an opportunity to give you a slightly more nuanced, and it doesn't. What I mean is, it's not that it. I think they're trying for something, but ultimately it comes out as just there. So you don't, in terms of the take on the Golden Lotus character, I don't even feel like I've been watching it's another floaty Joey Wong film, which is fine, but I don't feel as if I've come away from it with another angle on Golden Lotus. If you do, it seems almost like if you take away the bits where they call her Golden Lotus, this could have been a random weird ghost reincarnation film with no connection to Golden Lotus at all. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think, it's trying to work out what it's trying to say, because it's got something to say. It's definitely trying to say something.
Something to do with exploding cars.
Yeah, but it's like I quite like, and they didn't go for it, and this is the frustrating thing as well. I quite like the idea of having this kind of not only getting inside the head of someone who's tortured by reincarnation, interesting, right? But also a comment on this whole eternal wheel of samsara that's just history repeating over and over and over again, and you can't control anything because you're born with this soul, and this soul is meant to be an adulteress.
Or it's an
they didn't go for that.
Elaborate highway safety film. And at the end, just after the explosion, it should just come up on screen. Check your transmission or something like that.
And always take the right dose of downstairs stimulants.
Yes. Yeah, because he's spin them down, isn't he? He's
So that's all I have. Yeah.
What was your question, Nick?
Well, it's a question. Well, I guess it's a question. It's also a comment. But I'm always fascinated by the random, like, foreigner who shows up in these kind of productions, right? Which I know, Clive, that's been a bit of your career, right?
Proudly so. Random foreigner, I got it covered.
Who shows up
yes.
in scene, yeah. But I tend to think about like watching old Japanese films. You're always like, and and their acting is usually, not always, but often
awful,
deplorable. Like just truly like wow. And there is a good example of this in this beardo like white guy with an accent I can't even put my finger on, sitting in a club, and he's like, "Bloody Mary." Okay, whatever. Like he's just
yeah.
And I wonder like how much of that like was a. I've lost my question entirely. Just wanted to comment on. I always enjoy it.
Right. Well, I think there's one thing I think you could possibly make a defense for the acting skills of the white man in these films.
Because they're usually English teachers, I assume.
Well, not always. I think probably there were some actors out there, but Hong Kong films generally aren't filmed with sound.
Yeah.
So they're not. So they're probably not dubbed by the actor. B,
right.
Probably not dubbed by someone of the same nationality or first language as the person. So that is possibly a spurious defense, but
plus as well,
that's something to consider.
I can almost guarantee the way he got the job was, "Hello, are you free tomorrow? Yeah. What is it? Oh, it's something. Oh, okay. Do you have a suit? Yes. Okay. Meet at such and such a place at 6. Okay." Yeah. And then arrive, whole bunch of what's going on. 1 hour later, someone comes over to you. Right. You're having a conversation and you're enraged because she's giving you a drink. What? Drink. Bloody Mary? Yes. Okay, good. Bloody Mary. So what do? Just say Bloody Mary. Oh, am I angry or happy? Oh, yeah, angry, happy. What? Action. Oh, Bloody Mary. Okay, great. Move on. Oh, that's how it went down. I can almost guarantee.
That's what I want. That's exactly what I want. So I didn't have a question. I wanted Clive to have an opportunity to tell us all what the life of an expat actor is.
Something like that is what went down, my guess is.
Yeah. There we are. An insight into Clive's life and frustrations.
Day-to-day experiences.
Yeah, it's good to have pride in your work.